Remember last week when I made a reference for half a second to something everyone clearly remembers, and I'm not just a dork that happens to remember the time that WWE tried to sell us on an Undertaker recolor? Are you freaking serious? That is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. This week's video is on wrestling. Wait, who's the subject again? Oh. Oh. Okay. So this channel is a dude wearing a witch mask while pantomiming as though he were actually talking when it's blatantly obvious that it's just a voiceover.
This is Green Psycho 17.
Dude, just make it a voiceover. Or better yet, match up with the energy of your voice with the energy of whatever this shit is. Anyway, he's talking about how WWE shouldn't have made an initial public offering to become a publicly traded company, which is what going public means in the context that he's talking about. The company went public in 1999, but hey, even a 16-year-old topic can be interesting and informative, especially if you analyze decisions being made today in the context of decisions made then. Since I'm actually doing a commentary on this video, let's see how he fails to do that.
Warning, this video contains a lot of strong language from my big green mouth. So if I was you parents, I wouldn't let my children watch any of my videos.
And if I were my viewers, I'd make note of this content warning. You got it? Got it wrapped up in that big smart head of yours? Good. Now I'm going to skip his actual intro because, look, it's a calm guitar riff that doesn't match with the tone of his content at all, with text and a still image of the character. And I don't give a fish sandwich. But you thought I was gonna say fuck.
I'm just gonna talk about fucking WWE going, public. They should have never took their company public. That was the biggest fucking mistake ever. Now look at it today. It's all gay, PG, and it's full of shit. No one gives a fuck about it.
Which is why you made an entire video about how... Oh! I'm sorry, that was rude of me. Stealing Rhino's joke like that. I should be ashamed of myself. But in all seriousness, if no one gives a shit about the show, why do so many people, including yourself, talk about the show on such a frequent basis?
The ratings are low.
Hold it! I'm not normally the type to do this Phoenix Wright thing, but you missed a lot of evidence that proves you're the one full of shit. November 23rd was the first episode of Raw that went below their numbers prior to the Attitude Era, which began in 1996. This show still had the third highest viewership on Monday night over the course of its 3-hour broadcast, only losing to Monday Night Football and Sports Center. If that is your idea of low ratings, then you, my friend, have standards set too high. While it is true that this is lower than what they had in the Attitude Era, while it is true that this is their lowest ratings in years, I would not say that this would be considered an outright failure. It's an indication that they need to change some things that they are in the process of doing, but it's not an indication that the show is completely garbage.
And they're afraid to take chances because, it's PG and their company's public.
For those that don't understand this point that he doesn't explain, in 2008, WWE's television program got its television rating changed to TV PG. What that means is that the show is probably suitable for younger audience. In fact, all WWE did to go PG was tone down the sex and the language, which is perfectly fine. The show doesn't really need all of that to do what wrestling does, and that's tell a story. Don't believe me? Watch Chikara, Ring of Honor, or most of the other independent promotions around the country not named JCW or CZW. That being said, when WWE first transitioned into the space of PG rating, they really didn't know how much they could get away with. However, evidence now shows that they know what they can get away with. As far as them not taking risks, look at the push Roman Reigns has gotten this year. Considering how this guy got booed out of the arena at the Royal Rumble with The Rock right next to him cheering him on, you think it's not risky to be building him as a main event babyface like they're doing? As for the real reason that they would go PG, consider the actual difference between that and their old TV-14 rating was. Again, sexual content and strong language. Based on the recent things happening in the Divas division, I can honestly say that I am happy that the women on WWE programming are treated less like sexual objects. First of all, we have fewer women around who are only there for their looks, like Sable. Face it, you know she was only there for her looks. And second, I personally find women more attractive when they aren't constantly parading around for me like hookers. But I can understand if you feel differently. There's plenty of shows outside of the mainstream if you want that. As far as the language goes, recall your content warning at the beginning of this video. Why on earth would WWE want to continue limiting their audience just so they can say a few more controversial words when mainstream media was moving away from the edgier style of content that was prevalent in the 90s and early 2000s?
The WWE should never went public. Never, ever. They lost a lot of control. And I mean a lot of control.
Really? Well, let me just take a look at the executive committee of WWE's board of directors. You know, the ones who are actually in charge and hold most of the stock in the company. Let's see here. Vince McMahon, the guy you keep saying needs to take charge of his company. Stephanie McMahon, his daughter. And Paul Levesque, better known as Triple H, Stephanie's husband. Oh, and who is it that runs creative? You know, the part of WWE that would be in charge of choosing the level of language and sexual content in their production? Oh, that's right. Triple H! And he's also a guy who comes from wrestling, by the way. Just because they have a board of directors doesn't mean they don't have control over their own company, you know.
Because really, they never needed to go public to begin with. The only reason they did it was to access the capital of debt markets, and WWE didn't even need it. They had no debt, and they had a shit ton of cash.
First of all, just because you don't currently have any debt doesn't mean you wouldn't want access to that market in order to gain access to funds like that. Second, going public also legitimizes the business. Not your brand, not your television show, your business. Which means more people will want to do business with you. Third, going public also gives companies an easier time with acquisitions due to the securities they can provide because of it. Guess what WWE would do 2 years after it went public? Acquire a company!
You were already on top of the world. You had no debt, and you had a shit ton of cash. And it all came from your fans, the wrestling fans, not the fucking gay, shitty PG fans.
Not to hop around the video too much, but how is it that you describe Vince's current fan base later in this video exactly?
Now all people know you're a bunch of kids and shit, but that's all you want to appeal to, isn't it? Fuck all the real wrestling fans. Fuck all those people that made you a billionaire to begin with. Fuck us all, right? Only the kids matter.
So by your logic, kids, presumably below the age of 14, based on what the previous rating was, aren't real wrestling fans. So answer me this then. How old were you during the Attitude Era? Well, if you were below the age of 14 during any point in that time period, congratulations! You were, at the time, a gay, shitty PG fan. Or better yet, how about an example I can prove? How about myself? I watched all the time during the Attitude Era. I watched Mankind win his first WWE Championship. I watched Halftime Heat! And before anyone tries to say I didn't support WWE financially, I may not have been in the richest household, but I had action figures, a Shawn Michaels tape. Shawn Michaels was always one of my favorite wrestlers. And I even got WWE Magazine. Guess what? During the majority of the Attitude Era, I was under the age of 14. So that must make me a gay, shitty PG fan, huh?
That's how you got rich in the first place.
See this guy? This is the guy that got WWE rich in the first place. Hey, guess what age demographic he appealed to? The rest of this video is him just prattling on about the same points over and over again, so I'm just gonna stop him here. Look, based on the video, it seems pretty obvious that this guy is just an Attitude Era junkie that hates the fact that WWE's programming doesn't have the harsh edge it used to. All I have to say is this. I like the Attitude Era just as much as you. I grew up in it. However, looking back, I can see its flaws. Now that I've grown up and understand both the wrestling and entertainment industry better, I'm aware of the flaws of the company's mentality during that time period. However, I'm also very aware of WWE's current flaws, and they aren't what you're making them out to be. You, however, seem to be judging programming solely based on its rating, but just because the rating says that kids can watch it doesn't mean that's the target audience. My advice: actually watch the program and be able to tell me what the negatives of the program are. Hopefully then, you'll see that it's not nearly as bad as it was in 2008 when WWE first went PG. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully I didn't stray too far out of your comfort range in order to make you disinterested. I'll probably know when this video gets uploaded, though. Until next time, this is your friendly neighborhood Boon Slayer, signing out. Have a nice day!